Hey, I want to make a quick follow-up to my video about drilling out the check balls and the stator supports. On this AOD, I'm just now getting back around to finishing this up, and what I found for the size on this, that hole is too big for a 1/8 inch pipe, which is what I use on my C4 stuff, and it fits it beautifully. This one is pretty thin on the back side right here, so I was a little worried about going to a full 1/4 inch pipe on that. I was afraid that would get a little bit thin, especially with the way a pipe is a tapered thread, and I was afraid that might crack that. So what I found was this hole is roughly 10 millimeter in diameter, and what I found to work is either 11 millimeter tap or a 7/16 fine thread. And I went with 7/16 fine thread, and then took a bolt and cut it off. I've got a little Harbor Freight bandsaw that I made a little table for, and I cut that off and cut a slit in it for a screwdriver. This is another one I made. I was debating on how deep to set this, but just do that for a screwdriver, and then you just run that in, put a little plumber's tape on it or Teflon paste, run that in snug, good and snug with a screwdriver, and then I'm probably gonna peen it with take a punch and hit the screw in about 3 or 4 spots to kind of swell that out so it doesn't come out. You could also Loctite it, but Loctite and Teflon is not going to go together, so I'm just going to peen that in there. And the way these pumps are made, even if it did weep just a little bit, it's not going to cause a problem. The pump actually sets down inside of a pretty tight, or the stator support sets down inside of a machine groove around the outside fairly snugly. So like I said, if it weeps just a little bit, you're never going to know it, especially with all the extra oil that's running through there. You'll have plenty still making it to the cooler. So, but regardless, like I said, what I did was just drill that out, and then make sure you don't go too deep with your plug, because what I'm doing is bottoming that out against my threads. So don't tap it super deep. That way you can kind of jam your bolt into the threads. And so you don't have to be crazy tight, but just run it down until it runs out of threads, and then it'll get tight on its own, you know. And then make sure you don't tap it too deep and end up running your plug down and blocking that hole off with your plug. So that plug is going to sit in there like that. And if you end up tapping that hole too deep, then it's going to be down there. And you're going to need to figure out a way to, I'm using those threads to create friction to stop the thing from going too deep. So if you tap it too deep, you're going to be in a little bit of a pickle. So anyways, that was all I wanted. Just wanted to follow up and tell you what I ended up figuring out. So like I said, 7/16 fine thread or an 11 millimeter, like a 1 or 1.5 pitch. Seems like that's going to be the ticket on this. So have a good day.